Hello my friends, welcome back to the final part 4. It's been a few days. I just wanted to let all of this dry. So final run, let's finish this and let's see what we can create. We're going to focus on the bottom of this now. Lots of moving water, rocks, and we're going to finish our trees as well. I'm going to put some extra foliage down. I did do a little bit of work on this. I'll explain to you just in a moment when I turn the camera. Yeah, it's getting there, quite nice. There's a couple of things I want to change, so we'll do that as we go. But look, let's finish this and let's see what we end up with. It's always exciting when you're getting to an end of a painting because you can see the finish coming in sight. We're nearly there. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I know it's been a very long tutorial, 4 parts, but as you can see, there was quite a bit of detail. There's lots of different things going on. And it's a big canvas as well. So I hope you don't mind that I took 4. I could have done 2 long ones, but I thought 4 small ones might be easier. You can stop and take a break in between, just to stop and take a look and see where you're going from there. So it's a good idea just to do a little bit at a time and stop, take a break. It helps you focus, I think, and see the bigger picture, so to speak. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's have a bit of fun with this and finish it up and see what it looks like. I'll make a frame for us as well. So don't go anywhere. Happy painting. All right, so look, I'm just going to explain to you what I did in this. When I finished the last video, the last part of the painting, I just kind of came back and I tidied up a few things. What I did was I just warmed up some of the highlights. They were a little bit too bright. I found them just very white and very highlighted. They were a little bit too highlighted. So I just warmed up some of the rocks with some burnt sienna and a little bit of cadmium red. Just a little bit of warm brown going through, just with my palette knife. Just like this, just here and there. I just put a little bit of burnt sienna with a little touch of cadmium red, and I put a little burnt sienna with a touch of cadmium yellow, just here and there. Just to warm them slightly, and I want to make them slightly darker as they're coming in under the canopies of the trees. So I darkened them. I also added a touch of a very soft lavender or mauve. A little bit of blue. You can see the tiny touches of blue that I added just here and there, just to create some more depth in the shadows. And I also added a touch of blue into the water. I made it slightly more blue instead of white. So I went along with my pointy brush, put a little bit of blue in and just tiny touches of white then just here and there. That's all I did. I also just kind of brought down some green with my brush just to cover the tops of the rocks. You can see that, and little touches of green on the rock as well, just for some moss and all that kind of stuff. And just a little tiny dab of it here and there, but we'll work on that. But anyway, let's move on and we can come back to all of this. I still have a lot to do on the sides. I want to bring some fresh, bright green foliage just along the edges, okay, and coming down, covering these rocks here as well. So we have quite a bit to get through, don't worry. Now, let's get a brush. I will take my medium stubby brush, okay, my medium stubby. And a lot of people have asked me about these brushes. They're absolutely fantastic brushes for painting trees and foliage. That's what I use for this. So little dabs like that. There should be a link in the description if you want to get a set of these. You have a small, medium and a large. They're just fantastic brushes. They really, really are. And they're nice and small. I'm going to start by putting in some warm brown here for the reflection in the water, okay? Let's dampen our brush. I'm going to get some burnt sienna, a little burnt umber, and little thinners, tiny touch of thinners as well. I'm going to start with this warm colour. See that nice rich colour? Just put that in. Again, it's only a base colour. That's all it is. A bit more burnt umber in that. Because if you look at the photograph there, you can see that lovely warm brown colour we have, where the water is really shallow and you can see right through to the rocks underneath. I'm going to try and create that little effect just around here. I know we don't have any over here, but I'm going to put some in here as well, because it's a good idea to try and find balance in your painting. What a lot of people mean by that is I don't want to have a light brown just on one side of the water here. It might look a bit funny, so I'm going to put an extra bit here. I know we have rocks and stuff here, but I'd like to put some of this in here anyway. Just to balance the composition of the painting, if you understand that. A lot of people find those terms very intimidating, and to be honest, I don't like using those kind of terms, composition and all that kind of stuff. I prefer to just talk about colour and how the colours interact with each other. That's what I like to talk about. So a bit of brown there. I'm going to go into my black then. Just take a little bit of black and some cadmium red. That'll help us really darken it up a little bit more. And I'll go in here and just add little touches of that here and there. Soften that along. You see that? Just quite simply. Put a little bit more here, because we will have some bright kind of bluey colours as well going through this. And I'm going to be putting some extra small rocks there, maybe a little, a little bit of splash, that kind of thing. So look, we have quite a bit to get through in this, quite a bit. Now I'm just going to fill in this rock over here. I'm going to take some black and some Naples yellow and a little sienna. Just going to fill in this rock here with that. And I always take a touch of thinners, just it helps the paint go that bit further, doesn't it? You know, there's a lot of people out there who will just go and grab lots of paint without using thinners, and they end up with very thick layers of paint on their canvas, and it's just very hard to control if you have too much on. It's just very, very difficult, very, very hard to control the painting. It gets very messy very quickly. So I like to stick with thin, just nice thin layers to begin with. I'm going to fill this in as well. Just put a big dark rock in there. So you can see we can make this our own. We're not governed by the photograph. We can make it all the way we want. We don't have to copy photographs. All right. I keep saying this, but I always see people when they're trying, you know, artists, when they're trying to copy the photographs, and you can almost see, when you're looking at the painting, you can almost see how they're sort of struggling to get it just the same, exactly the same as the photograph. And it shows in the painting. So I say, look, just have some fun, make this your own, have a bit of fun, and don't copy the photograph exactly. Because all you're going to do is stress yourself out trying to make something look exactly the same. You get stressed out, you get frustrated, it just will not work, and then you'll end up, maybe, I don't know, throwing the canvas in the bin or something like that and starting again. I say, who needs a photographic representation? Who needs a photograph, a painting that looks like a photograph? If you want to paint something, or if you want something to look like a photograph on the wall, just take a photograph and frame it and hang it up. That's much nicer, I find, than struggling to paint something to make it look exactly like a photograph. That's just what I think. It's just my opinion. You can tell me it's a load of rubbish if you like, I don't mind. But a painting should be a painting. That's the way I see it. Now, I'm going to soften that down there, so we have an impression of the reflection there, and let's darken this around here. Okay, already we're getting there. I'm going to take another bit of dark colour, just fill in any areas I missed earlier. Just going to fill them in. Look, it doesn't have to, this doesn't have to look exactly like rocks as such, okay? I just want to fill it in to make it look busy. That's what I've been trying to do all the time, just to make the scene look busy. That's all, really. That's all it is. Now, I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to go to a small stubby brush. And I'm going to just start lightening some of these. I'm going to take some black Naples yellow and a little white. I'm going to make a nice grey. Then I'm going to add a touch of magenta into that. Maybe a little white as well. I want to go for a light grey, but kind of a warm grey as well at the same time. So the magenta with the Naples yellow will help really warm this up. Now, that should be all right. That's a nice thick mixture there now. So I'm putting thick paint on top of thin paint, all right? Let's go here. Let's just take this rock and just give it a wiggle along the outline, outside edge, and then let's just soften it down into that darker color, you see? Pulling it down in that direction, because that will give you the sense of the rock falling down this way, you see? The rock kind of falling down. And I'll put a couple in over here. I'll soften them in with the fingers as well. Look, I know I shouldn't, but it's only a tiny bit. Not the end of the world, is it? Just little hints of light. That's all I want. Bit of Naples yellow. Pop a little bit of Naples yellow up on top of that. And I go over here, give this one a nice bright highlight. And I'll use a palette knife on these as well, just to get really bright colours in a moment. But, you know, just filling in like this first. I might just pop one or two in along here and there as well, just to break up some of these. See, I'm just kind of putting in little lights and just dragging them down, you see? Just drag it down. I'm not too worried about these because these are all kind of in the dark shadows over here. So I'm not too concerned about those ones really. And a lot of that stuff up there, that's fine. Okay, so look, the next thing I'm going to do now is just clean this. I'm going to take some black and I just really want to darken in around some of this here. This is a really dark rock, isn't it? On the photograph, it's very dark. Scrape a little bit of black in there and scrape it upwards, soften it away. Now, that just gives us a bit more depth, doesn't it? Then I go in with some black on these ones, just to darken them around there. And I do the same along this one here. I'm going to leave the knife work till the last on this because I want to concentrate on the water. Now, the water is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to get another brush, a flat brush, okay? Flat brush. And I'm going to mix up some colour for the water. Now, we're going onto wet brown paint, so it's going to be tricky. What I'm going to do is mix a nice mauve. I'm going to take some phaylo blue, some magenta, and I really want this on the warm side, okay? Because if I put a bluey colour over this, it's just going to go muddy. So I'm going to keep it warm. So plenty and plenty of magenta. It's more like a pinky mauve is what I want. And some white. So you see, you start off with the pinky shade, then you start putting on the bluey shade. And I'll show you how this works. So that's nice and pinky there now, I think. This area, I'm going to have to make this up myself. I don't want to copy the photograph exactly. It just looks too complicated and all. There's loads of stuff going on. So I'm just going to kind of make this up myself as we go along. And I'm just going to start putting in these little wiggles with this pinky mauve. Now just make sure you clean your brush each time you're doing this. Little wiggles, and you can see then that just sort of almost brings the water to life, doesn't it? Already, just by doing that small little piece. It really does make a difference. Sometimes something simple like that is all you need. I'll do the same over here, just in under where that splash is coming out. And the nice thing now is that it's softening into the brown, you see that? And it just creates lots of different shades. We go around that rock and we leave that. So I'm just using the flat of my brush, creating little wiggles here and there. Around this rock as well. And already you can see it's starting to come to life, isn't it? Just by doing that one little thing. Let's go again. This time maybe a little more blue. So plenty of blue in the mix this time. Let's try it with some blue. And we can go over where we did already. We know we're not going to make it muddy because we already have a lighter shade there. Just clean the tip of your brush each time. Keep it nice and clean, you see. And a bit more there. A little bit more blue, I'd say. Let's get more blue there. And being careful now not to put too much green in all of this. Okay, there's one thing we could do to help create some nice mistiness at the end of this. All right, if you don't want to go to the trouble of putting in loads of little detail around the splash, a very easy way to do this is to take some white, take a touch of blue, and could create a little bit of mistiness at the end of this. And that would really help tie the bottom into the top. Just creating little bits of mist, going round in little circles like that, you see? And that just really is a very quick and effective way of sitting some water down on a painting, especially a waterfall. I could have done this as well now up on the top to create a nice mist as well. I probably still could, if we try, create a nice little mist up there, look. That helps soften everything in. Just a little. Round in little circles, I'm barely touching my canvas. There, that's not bad now, is it? Let's go over here and try it on this side. So we're just giving the impression that the water's coming down and creating a lovely misty effect at the bottom of the water. That's all we're doing. I'm going into the black and I'm softening them all in together. Just be careful not to overdo it, because you can overdo this and end up with loads all over the place. But I just want to tie this little bit just here and there and just soften it gently around. So already now it's looking quite nice, isn't it? I'm quite happy with this. I'd be proud of this if this was a painting hanging on the wall. I really would. So now we can go into the white. Just white on its own. We can put in a little white as well. Soften it around, creating a nice... Do you know what it does? It creates movement. Lots and lots of lovely movement in a painting. And they're actually getting then little bits of detail as well at the same time. Down here, cover this little corner there. That's looking quite nice, isn't it? I must say now I'm happy enough with that. You could even leave that if you like. I think I'm going to add a little bit more in the water. I'm just going to brighten this a little bit more. And I'm going to go for some nice bluey white. Nice bluey white. And I just want to really kind of show off some of these ripples, just to, I suppose it's just to add a bit of light, really, a bit of highlight into some of them. And I'm going to take a fan brush. And to be honest now, this is just me trying different things. This is exactly how you would probably work when you're at home. So you're sitting down and you're thinking, well, maybe I'll try a fan brush. Let's just try a fan brush and create some little bits of rough water with a fan brush. Let's just try it and see what happens. That's what painting is all about. Because if you don't try it, you're never going to know. That's my take on it. You may well discover techniques that you never thought would be possible, and creating movement in water. You know, you may not have ever even known about it, so you won't know until you try. And soften it across with a little bit of colour on that. Oh, even that is quite nice, isn't it? I think I'll just leave it alone. I'm going to move on and put some shape on these rocks, some brightness. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, a little touch cadmium red perhaps, a little touch of cadmium yellow. Maybe a touch of white. I just want to create some sharp highlights, just a couple of highlights on these front rocks here. That's all. Just one or two there. And a nice strong one here just to separate that. From the water. Just give it a couple of dabs with your knife. Just create a bit of texture on it, that's all. Now I'll take some burnt umber and I'm just going to go over here and add a touch of colour onto this as well. Burnt umber with some cadmium red. A little bit there, maybe a touch there, and then just get some black and pop some black on there as well. Black being the last colour, the very dark, darkest shade to go on. Okay. Now, one last thing we could actually do with this is take some cadmium yellow and some white. And we could just put one or two small highlights where there's real brightness catching on the rocks. Now, my hands are a little shaky, but that's good. Sometimes a shaky hand is good for this kind of thing. Add a couple of lines just to suggest ridges and that kind of thing. But you can, look, you can go through all of this yourself, add little bits and pieces here and there. It's completely up to yourself. You just take your time and do your own thing. Of course, you can add your own rocks in and take your own rocks out. It's completely up to yourself. I'm happy with this. The next thing I need to do is to go and add some more foliage and stuff like that around here. I think it needs it. I really do. I'm going to go to my medium brush. I'm going to just give that a quick clean. Get all that dark colour out of that brush. I'm quite happy with this so far. I think this is coming on quite nice, isn't it? Let's go into some cadmium yellow, lots of it. And I might take a hint of cadmium red. And then some white. Now, I don't want pure yellow. I'm going to take a touch of phaylo blue as well. I'm going for a very bright green, okay? And I want to just kind of come in some of these. And I'm going to come down as well into these rocks on the side. And it's really all about just adding touches of light on some of them. Here, for example, pop some real bright shades. And you can see I'm just using the corner of my stubby brush. These brushes are fantastic for this kind of stuff. When you buy these, they're completely flat, just like new flat brushes. But after a while, they start to open up like that, you see. And they're perfect for doing edges of foliage and bushes and all that kind of thing, you see, just by using the edge of it there, just like that. They're absolutely fantastic, they really are. I discovered these years and years ago, and I always use them for everything I do. They're just amazing, they really are. I just took a little bit of warmer shade there now, a little bit of cadmium red. I'm going to pop a little bit of warmer shade in. So you can see this kind of creates a nice canopy then over these rocks here. And it just helps push the rocks up into the greenery, doesn't it? Maybe a little, just like that. That's quite nice, isn't it? I'm going to go up here and create another section of foliage just here coming in. It's just really to break up, some of the trees. That's all. Another one here perhaps coming in. But you don't need to overdo this. You could just leave it well alone. If you're happy with the way it is, you could just leave it. I'm just going to put a slightly darker shade of green in underneath, in one side over there. Mix a nice dark green, bit of a cool green, and just pop it in, just here and there. Slight little dabs, just small little dabs, just to give it a bit of shade. Maybe a little over here as well, just to have some shady sections as well. Doesn't have to be all very bright. And my friends, I think we're finished. There's one last step for me. I just need to find a very small pointy brush. I had one that, oh, here it is. My small pointy brush. A little rigger brush. Just take some white. I'm just going to go in and add some very bright little wiggles here and there. Just to add a bit more eye-catching movement in this water. Just a couple of little, it could be anything. Just a couple of little, a few dots like that. It's really just little touches of highlight to catch your eyes when you're looking. See what I mean? Just small little touches. Put a couple of little wiggles. And I find painting little wiggles like this, it really just, it brings any scene to life if there's water. If you're painting around rocks, here for example, put a little wiggle like that around it, look. And it really does just add to the movement of the water, doesn't it? So that's it. I think I leave it alone. I quite like how this painting feels, and yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with this. So I think I'll leave it at that. I don't want to overwork it. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm calling this finished, my friends. I'm going to call it finished. Actually, what I might do is, with my fan brush and a little white, I might just add a little more just to the edges of that water. Maybe a little on the blue side. So I'm just going to very gently add some white into some of these. I'm just going to drag some white down with my fan brush. I didn't want it to be too blue, so I'm just going to very gently soften a little bit of white in here and there, just to take off some of the blue. That's fine. I think I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go over it because I'll just end up making it worse. Now I'm just looking at these two rocks here, and there's something just not right about those rocks. I need to add something to them, a little bit of color or something. It's difficult sometimes to get the shades just right, to get the shades to kind of soften it in and get the right composition, the balance of the painting. So I'm just going to take a little bit of red with a bit of yellow, just add a little touch of warmth into some of them. I think that's fine. And there we go. I'm going to leave it at that, my friends. I'm quite happy with how that turned out. And there we are. It's finished. That didn't take too long now, did it? You can see I just kept it nice and simple. Just nice and simple. A couple of little wiggly lines. A bit of mist in there. And that really just adds a nice softness to the painting, doesn't it? I think it's really nice and soft looking just down there. And happy days. I'm very happy with that. So, we're done. We are done. I'm now going to go and make a nice frame for this. A lovely little frame, a floating frame, just around the edge. I think that's going to be quite nice. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I apologise for taking so long doing it, but I really enjoyed painting this one bit by bit. I might do more of them, bigger ones. Anyway, until next time, thank you so much. I have a lovely little painting coming on Patreon. A good friend of mine on Patreon, Punit, sent me a beautiful photograph of the moon in a kind of a dark sunsetty sky with reflections on the water. I'm going to try something like that. So if you'd like to see it, just pop over to Patreon there. See what you think of the group and the community that we have. Great things happening over there as well. But anyway, I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do subscribe if you haven't done so. You're missing lots of wonderful, wonderful paintings. And until next time, happy painting. And just remember, try to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't go into too many details. Just enjoy what you're doing. All right, my friends? Take care and God bless. I'll see you very soon.